All right. Is we on? Yep. Yep. Microphone check 1 2. What is this? Hey, hey, hey! I'm your humble host, Fizz Ed Music, and this right here, this is Urban Politics, a special Urban Politics. I'm out here in the park, got my two sons with me. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I got.
Jaleel, Eddie, what?
Yep,
What
there.
was
That's
that?
yep. Got little
Jaleel,
Eddie.
Eddie, Eddie.
Yep, yeah.
Jaleel, Eddie, and Eddie.
There it is. Yeah,
There's
two
two
enough.
Eddies.
Now, my son right here, he is coming fresh off of Capitol Hill, right? Doing an internship up there with the politicians and stuff. So I want to get his firsthand account of what's going on in D.C. You know, I talk about Washington Wood all the time, but I ain't been since I was 13, 14 years old. So I want to get something. Son, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good to see you. Miss
Well,
you.
where's my
Glad to have you
handshake?
back.
Where's
You right
my
here, son.
handshake?
I see you every day, but love you too. All right, calm down. Now, okay. All right. Calm down. We're gonna talk a little politics now. Tell me, you know what? First of all, what's the feeling up there? I mean, literally, when you walking around with all those people in their nice suits and the good money that they make and all that, are people at ease, or are they just as tense as the rest of America?
That's a good question. I think people are just as a it's a people are just as tense
Why you say that?
because it's unprecedented.
Thank you. I agree. Okay, so and you know, I say that all the time. You know, I'm an older guy. I've been around. I've been watching politics probably since I was around 11 years old. But I agree. A lot of this stuff is unprecedented. So, yeah,
We've never seen nothing like this.
never seen
Like
nothing
and
like that.
subscribe.
Well, would you agree? Would they say? Well, yeah.
Like and subscribe or your hands will turn to raspberries.
Okay.
And you'll be eaten by one of these geese.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
kids.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Or
Eddie.
Krampus.
In a minute here, you're gonna be playing with one of these geese while we talk. Calm down. All right. Thank you. Though.
No, I'm not trying to die.
Okay.
Like geese.
But no, hold up. So that's the thing, though. These are unprecedented things. Do you think we're definitely in a constitutional crisis? You keep hearing that getting thrown around. What you think, son? Is that the truth?
When is America not in a constitutional crisis?
That's a good point.
That's
Okay,
the honesty.
yeah.
I mean, we come from a constitution that had us written as 3/5 of a people. You know, like
You just said that's a good. I never thought about that. You think civil rights was in the constitutional
when are we not in a
crisis.
constitutional crisis?
Yeah, some of
I think
that.
that we
some
like
of
to
that.
throw those type of words around when like big stuff happens, like the government deports a U.S. citizen, or like
Yeah.
when big things like birthright citizenship starts getting tossed around and we start talking
Hey, calm
about constitutional things.
Yeah. Now hold up. What? That's the thing too. It's definitely unprecedented to have a president who's thumbing his nose at a federal court judge. What do you think about that? I mean, that's illegal. This guy's like kind of breaking the law in everybody's face, and no one's doing anything about it. I don't like that. You know.
I agree. I think that America is what America is because of our judiciary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's the only thing that separates. Well, that's what I say. They would always call like Morocco and some of those other places in Africa, call it a kangaroo court or whatever, and say they don't have democracy or whatever, and that's what makes us better. We're supposed to be this great democratic experiment, like Ronald Reagan talked about, the shining light on the hill. That's supposed to be us, but if we don't have the rule of law, we don't have that, right? So
Exactly.
that's interesting. Okay, I got a few things down here. I'm going to throw them out at you. Tariffs. Oh my goodness. As far as I'm concerned about tariffs, they're killing the economy. They claim it'll bring manufacturing back to America. Do you think that's a good idea?
here's what I'll say about tariffs. Tariffs from every standpoint, everybody knows tariffs aren't good for the economy.
There you go.
Everybody knows that. But I think that when we look at
Except Trump.
though,
Everybody but Trump.
but look at Trump though, he's a very I hate to use this type of language, but it's fair to say that he is a diplomatic leader.
Okay, why would you say that? That's okay. Let me hear your
Because
rationale.
what can tariffs also be? Tariffs can also be a negotiation strategy,
Yeah, and he's claiming that's what it is.
and that's what they're running with.
Yeah, but then he brought people to the table though. But it seems like even like with China, they said it's something. He was talking deals with them, but if anything, they're losing. They're signing worse deals than they already had with these people.
I mean, I'm not saying that his strategy is working. I'm just saying that he does have a strategy.
So he got a strategy. I
sure
didn't
there
say
is
it
a
was a good
strategy.
one.
I'm sure there is a strategy. I'm not saying the strategy is working, but I'm saying that could be. And that's what I think the tariffs are, though. But because even when I talked to I went when I was in Jamaica, one of my friends' dad, he's an automobile he sells automobiles.
Okay.
But I was asking him about tariffs because they were saying like that would impact them the most.
Huge.
He
Big
was
time.
saying-
That's my bread.
You want some bread? I want some bread too. But he was saying though like the automobile industry isn't going to be impacted because Trump is like putting something in place to like he thought about that, I guess.
Yeah.
because he
Well, they were
factored
saying that
in.
I think they were stopping those tariffs for a minute here from car and stuff like that. But it's still just a point. We already had an economy that was the envy of the world. This guy goes in there and screws it up in 2 months with a bunch of tariff crap that we didn't need. He could have became president and not said anything. I've gone on record of saying this on my show. He could have became president, did nothing, and still got credit for the best economy in the world. But yet he came in as president and tanked it. I don't know. I was even talking to my pops about that. I haven't heard any other news outlet or anybody else say that, but I'm going to go there. I'm going there right here. I would wonder if all this stuff isn't purposeful, right? Because we know that he is a useful idiot for Russia. Because when he got all that money from his dad, he lost it, went to them, got back, put back on top. So he's in their pocket. Why would you do this? And while everybody else is losing money, he's going on record and bragged how about a bunch of his billionaire buddies, he's made them a bunch of money. He's making a bunch of money off of this Bitcoin and stuff. So he don't really care about the economy tanking. So why else would you do it?
Well, I think that for any president that has a non-consecutive term like Trump, a second non-consecutive term, you have a whole 4 years in between where you're not only planning the campaign that won you the election, you're also campaigning what you're going to do.
Okay.
So all of this from Trump, to your point, is all calculated.
Okay.
It's all strategic.
Yeah.
He's aware of what he's doing. I'm sure that all of these moves were very intentional.
You're
like
right.
you said, Russia, even in his first term, people were we were drawn back by his alliance with them in the first term.
Yeah.
But he knew that he could take it a step further in this term because he knew he already did that previously.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting to me because, like I said, what else is there? And then I saw a reel of Vladimir Putin meeting with what's this guy, the young cat from Africa, who's like liberating the place in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Touré, is that his name or something?
Ibrahim.
Yes. Meeting with him, like he was doing the walk in
Burkina
there, and they
Faso.
showed and it was showed the ceremony and all that. So I'm like, so see, Russia's making deals with all these other people around. Russia
and China have a huge impact on the culture.
Well,
in
they're
Africa
cool.
And in the Caribbean.
Well, they're cool because both of them are communist countries. So they said that and that's what Xi Jinping, that's what he said about him and Vladimir Putin's relationship. He said it was iron. He said it's ironclad. So there you go, unbreakable. But they said a lot is that is because they're both communists. They believe in communism. So that's interesting, because like Russia's still doing its thing and dealing with different people. But then, you know what I'm saying, we're kind of, he done holds in America with this terror stuff. All right, you be good and be safe. You need right in here so we can see you. All right? I'm going nowhere. So, you know what I'm saying? That's interesting. I don't know. That's just my theory. I pray I'm wrong because I live in America. Anyway, moving on. Now, this guy, Secretary Bessie, you know who I'm talking about? He's he's like the finance secretary. You've seen this guy, man. He got these veneer teeth or whatever, and he's always in a big suit or whatever, and he gonna sit there and talk about, oh yeah, people are wanting to make deals with us. That was a lie. Ain't nobody wanting at that time. They've come to the table, since then, but at that time, they're saying nobody. And a lot of these places just don't need America, I was glad to see Africa get its liberation because I'm always going on record as saying Africa does not need anybody. Everybody needs Africa. Africa has all the resources. They always have. And where they messed up is letting people like the French and the English and all those people come in and colonize them and take all their resources.
Well, that's not how colonizing works.
How does it work
colonize them.
I mean, how does it work
Those people came in and wrecked them with new technology, and they were I think that we have to remember colonization was quick. It's a very complex situation for a lot of those people that are from those Senegalese or West African countries, because just like us in America, we never wanted to be enslaved. They never wanted to be colonized, and they never accepted colonization. They consistently rebelled against colonization, just like we consistently rebelled against slavery.
But of course, that's the part they're gonna leave out of the story.
They make it seem like they wanted colonization. Who wants colonization? Who wants colonization? Who wants
Now I did share a reel where it was 3 white people talking, and it was a young white guy, and the 2 white ladies were saying that people demonize colonization, but a lot of good things come from colonization. Now, and the guy was like, and he was a white guy, and he said no. And then he said, and it was like, what about education? And it's crazy because I used to think that myself. I used to think like, oh, okay, that's a good part of colonization. At least these people are getting that education, but because who says that education is so great anyway, and that's the one that they need. Because then I saw another thing where a lady like from some of these old places was saying, well, these kids, they leave here, they go get that Western education, but then they come back and they can't do anything we need here. They don't know how to milk a cow. They don't know how to feed a goat. They don't know how to till the land. They can't do anything that we need them to know how to do because they ain't got this big degree over there, and there are no jobs here to use that degree. That's interesting. I never thought of that.
I didn't know that. But you know what, though? I will say I went to a science diplomacy summit while I was in D.C. It was at Johns Hopkins Advanced International Studies. It was like one of those, like a forum. And even to this day, every single ambassador from Africa, the ambassador of Tanzania, I can quote, she said, we're going to need more. Like AI is advancing so much further in other places, right? Like AI is advancing so much further in the Chinese. And advancing so much further in like China, advancing so much further in other countries. So where less developed countries like Tanzania are falling behind. We're already behind the curve, just inside of an industrial
Yeah.
technology tools.
Mhm.
So of course with AI, it's like they're even further behind the curve, but it's like now we have no way of catching up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, they were saying that a lot of AI developers and stuff like that, they were saying they're kind of leaving us out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem too, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the wave of the future. But
Well,
it's
it's
like, you know,
privatized, right?
there you go,
So I
exactly, like
mean,
everything else, you know. So yeah, yeah. But that's it. See, that is something. Now, and that's the thing too about colonization, because they were saying that's what happens with these countries, like France or something, to come over there and say, hey, you know what? We'll give you an airport, we'll give you a library, we'll make these colleges and stuff and all that, and then they'll bring other people from their country to actually work and build it. So even the people in that country don't even get jobs through this. And then even when they build it, they get all the money from it or whatever. So the people who live around there still aren't getting anything from it. So that blew me away to know that.
same thing in Jamaica. I think that, or
Okay.
even in South Africa, right? We just now had all the 50. What was that? What was it? 49.
Is it no? It's 59 Afrikaners who
White
came.
White Afrikaners
Yeah.
that come over here. Shout out my homegirl Phyllis. She's from South Africa. Studied abroad in South Africa. Has a story to tell about her interaction with South Africans
Wow.
as a Texas-born American, but her father is South African.
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. So she's half Afrikaner.
She's half South African.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe she's Sepedi tribe. But
Okay.
she knows her people. But her mother's side is also like very like country Texas.
Really, that is
So-
an interesting mix.
Yeah, that's my homegirl though.
I would wonder what her Christmases and
No, they're very interesting.
Thanksgivings are like.
They're good. Trust
That's
me. You know,
real.
but
That's
South
bizarre.
African though, right?
Yeah.
He has not brought all those people over here.
Yeah.
So when you look at white Africans and South Africans, and we think about like the land there, they're calling it, oh, the white people are coming over here because they're fighting what are they saying?
Yeah, well, they're saying they're being racially persecuted
in
and
South
all
Africa.
that. Mhm.
But in reality, don't they own like 70% of the land in South Africa?
Yeah.
Like those native people, the original South Africans, the native people, just like our Native Americans don't have justice in the States, but the original native South Africans
Yeah.
only own like 7% of their land.
Yeah, it's crazy, and a lot of those guys who have won their presidencies and stuff over there, they ran on that, ran on telling the people we're gonna get rid of these white people who sold this land and we're gonna kick them out. And sure enough, they got presidency. You know,
Not only
they
that,
true
what
to
happened,
their
though,
word.
we have to mention Nelson Mandela when we talk about Africa becoming
Yeah.
a democracy.
Yeah,
Right? Or
yeah.
South Africa specifically becoming a democracy, and how apartheid caused
Yeah.
ruin to their culture. That's why we have so much, even as Black people or even as African descendants rather, we have such a problem even with each other. Like we had South African star Tyler,
Yeah.
who had a problem with being called a Black woman.
No, I
Right?
saw
She wanted to be-
that. And
she
what
was
was she
colored.
saying about that?
She was-
Why? What was that about? I read something about
She
that.
was just showing the nuance to a conversation about how colonization and slavery may have similar effects.
Mm-hmm.
It has different results. if that
Okay.
makes sense, right?
Okay.
We have similar effects. We've been labeled this thing, right? You've been labeled a colored, I've been labeled a Black in America. You've been labeled a colored in South Africa. We both know that we've been separated and denied rights and protections by the government. It's been written into law, right? This is very similar things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be called a Black woman because you're not Black, you're colored. But we don't. You see, like it's a complex situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it all roots from one thing, and that's white supremacy. So
Yeah. Well, that's what Trevor Noah was even saying. He said that apartheid was kind of worse because it was the law. He said at least here in America you could talk about racism because it wasn't it wasn't the law, so it wasn't accepted. But he said there's like you couldn't even talk about it because it's the law. So he said it was kind of worse even there than. And I said, wow, that's something to think. I never thought about it like
but
that.
I mean, no, it was the law here though. Look, I mean,
True,
look,
indeed, we
Black
got plenty of
codes,
laws that.
Black codes.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
the Reconstruction,
Yeah.
all those we had. I gotta mention. Y'all know I go to a HBCU, the HBCU, Prairie View A&M University.
The HBCU.
The HBCU.
There's other HBCUs, ladies.
The HBCU that was founded.
The
by,
only one that matters.
Listen, you said it, not me. You said it, Dad, not me.
Oh
I
my
didn't say that.
goodness. So what was you gonna say?
But Prairie View was founded by Matthew Senator Gaines after Reconstruction, because a lot of those, seats
Yeah.
were being pulled because Texas was a confederacy.
Okay.
So a lot, Black enslaved men like Matthew Senator Gaines were able to advocate for places like Prairie View.
Okay.
And like, you know,
Yeah.
largely we say Prairie View was founded by the Texas legislature, but really it was founded by Matthew Senator Gaines.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. You know, years ago I was watching a episode of Rachel Maddow, and she had talked about how there were all these black men that were in Congress because a lot of those southern states had sent them there. But that was one of the best tricks that they pulled on black folk, is that your vote doesn't count. Because when we stopped doing that, that's when we stopped having that representation in Congress, because we weren't pulling together that vote.
Well, I would say that. I wouldn't even say it like that. I read a book called Black Men Built the Capitol by Jess Jarlin. I haven't finished it. But he talks really deeply about how kind of what you said. So the states pulled inside the Confederacy, and a lot of those, like, they were no longer a part of the Union, so those Union positions were filled by black men. Not necessarily Matthew Senator Gaines, because that was more like a state Texas thing, but men like what's the first state senator, like Senator Blank Bruce, I want to say Senator Blank Bruce. He was the first senator in the U.S. Senate to serve a full term.
Okay.
And he, I believe he was from Mississippi.
Okay.
But he was from one of those like southern states. But
Yeah.
Because they were no longer a part of the Union.
Okay.
So those seats were just being filled by people, anyone who would take them, kind of, or like influential black men. It was easier for them to access it.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
after Reconstruction. But then they
Wow.
were systemically, after those years of them making like little changes and creating places like HBCUs and doing that on a federal level, for those years after Reconstruction, like 60 years, I think, from like 1859, after he passed, it was like 60 years they went without having like any black representation in Congress, because they blocked them out of that.
I was gonna say, that's probably when they got hip to it. It's like, oh, we need to stop this right now. Yeah, we see what these black folk are doing.
And that's when you start seeing things like the Alabama Code, the Mississippi Code, where they created black codes and black laws, specifically like creating laws to keep black people from voting. Right. That's when you see the how many bubbles are in this thing.
Yeah, how many marbles in the jar or whatever.
Oh, you're black, you got to take a test.
Yeah, or
how many balls are in this jar?
Yeah. Did your great-great-grandmother vote? No, she was a slave. Okay,
what did you?
Oh, I wonder where these guys are coming from. You throwing bread, man. Get them started over here. And we ain't even got no more bread left. Now you just, you know what I'm saying? You done amped them up for nothing. Oh my Lord.
Guys, I'm gonna die over here.
What's up?
I'm gonna die
Oh my Lord. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, look. Got a few geese. Look at them. They out here. Okay, they doing their thing, but these geese ain't gonna hurt nobody. They ain't gonna hurt nobody. Look at them.
No.
Hey. Say hello, sir. What's up? Oh, don't run. Don't leave now. Oh, you ain't got nothing to say? Just turn your back to the people. All right, there it is. As you can see, we out here in the park clowning. That is some good stuff. That was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, man. I can't think of much else. How was the food in D.C.?
Very different. I would say they have a very, so I like to do the black things when I go places. So I visited.
And D.C. is Chocolate City, right?
Well, it was Chocolate City. D.C. is actually becoming very gentrified, and I want to speak on that.
Is it what you
Oh,
need?
really?
When I was there in the
All right, we're
grill,
going over there for a minute. And what do you get off the table? Getting off the table. Come on. Off the table. Get off the table. All right.
No, I can't die by that geese.
That geese ain't gonna hurt you. Come on. Hold up. Why do you say it's becoming gentrified? Look like everybody else in America, right?
exactly.
Okay.
But it's just different there because when I was there, Howard, I was spending a lot of time at Howard. One of my cousins go there.
Okay. Yeah.
Just chilling. They were getting rid of this Jamaican place. I think it was called The Grill. But they were saying they had been there for like a long time. Like a lot of the Howard students were saying like that was like a landmark there.
Oh wow.
And then I don't know. I think that they were just saying like whenever I spoke to people who were born and raised in DC, they were always like a lot of places they're pushing a lot of them out to like Maryland.
Okay.
And a lot of those places in DC are just becoming more. People are just buying them up.
Really?
They're rare, yeah. So
What is it? Is it like, are they historic and stuff? A lot of those places around there, or is it just DC? I got a friend who my boy Rashad, shout out to Rashad. I don't know if he watches the show sometimes, but he works in Pentagon City, because he works for NASA, and he was telling me that his rent was like $3,000 a month or something like that. So you know what I'm saying? So it's that type of market, obviously, right? So
Where's the real bomb?
Eddie, cut it out, chill out, give us a minute. So I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's obviously that type of market there. So that's still the case, right? But you just saying are there people coming in driving those prices even higher, or?
No, I'm saying that like a lot of those things are just becoming more commercial. They're creating more. I think they're creating more like smaller spaces, if that makes sense. Like more, because a lot of people aren't having, like, my generation isn't having kids.
Yeah.
So we're more people aren't buying houses necessarily.
That makes sense.
You know
Yeah,
what
they
I'm
were saying
saying?
that. Yeah,
People aren't
yeah.
buying houses. People are buying those
And
condos.
why are
buying...
your generation not having kids? Although if
Well,
I could go back,
oh, why?
I'm joking. But I forgot I had one of my kids. You know what I'm saying? No, and why is that though? Why are you kids not having kids?
I mean, look at the economy.
I hear that
I
word.
I don't want to have a kid in America where I can't choose if I can't have a daughter that might have a slip up and get pregnant and she just want to have an abortion.
Yeah.
And I can't just, you know, let my daughter have that right after. Or say I have a daughter who gets molested, right? God forbid. We don't, you know, life is.
Yeah, you're right.
And she ends up getting pregnant, and I can't support her in that way that she wants to be supported.
Yeah, we have an administration who would want her to have that child, you know,
Exactly.
and then try to throw her in jail if she tries not to have a child.
Or even deeper than that, think about that black woman right now who's sitting inside of a hospital, dead. Right? I think that they're saying she's brain dead.
What? I've not heard about that. What is this about?
Support, but it's a black woman. It just now they were talking about it. I've been seeing it on my socials. I can't remember her name, but it's a case going on where it's a black woman who's, I think she's in a coma.
She hooked up to a machine?
Hooked up to a machine, but they're saying like she's not alive, but she has a baby.
Oh.
And they're
is she pregnant?
She's pregnant, and they're like keeping her alive.
Wow, that's a sticky situation because what do they do with that?
Exactly.
I don't think they can deliver the baby while she's in a coma. I don't think they can. Or maybe they can.
I believe that the family, some people inside the family, I'm not for sure. Like I said, I didn't read really into the situation. I actually, unfortunately, did read just the big bold headlines. I've been traveling. Give me some grace. You know, I didn't read into this. I've also been reading.
You stopped at the headline.
I just been reading the big bold headlines. It's a Megan Thee Stallion meme where she's like, "Don't read the big bold headlines. You don't read those." I've been reading.
That's what you've been reading.
I've been reading. So, but I do want to mention the situation because it is recent.
That's interesting.
It's going on, and it's a case that teeters the line of women's access to personhood, right? Women access to so.
Well, you would hope that the life of the mother was more important than the life of the child, but sometimes not like that. And there's plenty of people who would argue that and be like, no, the life of the child is more important than the mother. So that goes both ways. I have went on record to this show and I've always said I am pro-choice. I think it's a woman's body, it's a woman's choice. And that's not even a, you know, maybe my age range, that's not a typical comment for someone my age, but also a male. A lot of men, you know, that I talk to are also, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like even if a man gets a woman pregnant, at the end of the day, like Chris Rock said, it's her choice. All you can do as a man and be like, so what you gonna do?
I think more men...
and then she can tell you what you about to be a father or not. You know?
More men should be like Grandpa, who said, when Aunt Lydia was about to die, what did he say? He said, you better make sure they both survive. I mean, like,
yeah. Well, Dad's a different guy.
You know, make sure they both
he's in military, and he actually stood there for. he watched all of that, and that was a gory scene, man. They had to dig her out of there and all that. There was knives involved, and Mom was under the. Oh my God!
Because I feel like some people want to make this a pro-choice, pro-life thing, when really we can respect both, right? Make sure they both survive. Let's really look at the situation from a bigger standpoint, right? Why? Let's stop looking at it from we're thinking small. Let's think big. Let's not look at it.
Well, but sometimes there are those cases that, like this case, they might be like, okay, look, we could cut the machine off, and then she might live, but the baby might have died, you know, for whatever medical reasons. Or they're like, we could go in and get the baby, she might would die, but the baby would, you know what I mean? There's always that. Mm-hmm. And then that's also, people will be like, well, the mother is a person, she's been here forever, mm-hmm. You know, her life is important. That ain't even a person yet. It hasn't been born yet. But then these people are like, no, life begins at conception. So, and I do think that's garbage. Life don't begin, because plenty of people, you know, there's plenty of times conception takes place and a life doesn't develop from it. Mm-hmm. So how can life begin at conception? Whatever. So, it's semantics. It's a circle, ladies. It's a circle. You can go around. All right, you know what? First of all, thank you again, son.
No problem.
Let us go. I love you too. Come here. Mwah. Got my two sons here. I got another son. We're going to have him check in later. But let me tell you something, man. It's great. It's a beautiful day out here. I think we're going to kick it in the park a little while longer. Me and my son going to talk some more politics. Thank you for liking and subscribing as you do. Please, as soon as you have a chance, take your little cell phone over to YouTube, like and subscribe. You can see they looking. Like and subscribe.
Or else we're gonna watch you when you're sleeping.
When
you're R.I.P.
That is creepy. We're not doing none of that. Thank you for watching Urban Politics.
Yes, we.
See you around like a donut.
Subscribe or else you become a raspberry, and these geese will eat you.
I don't know what it is with him and raspberries. We out.